Hey, everybody, this is Kia Keeley. Welcome back for the final AutoStratic training session. In this section, we are going to cover and take more questions from you all. We're going to walk through more demonstrations, and we just want to hear from you all how things have been going, as well as to just really give these any further notes about how to use AutoStratic, what use cases are there, and how this can be utilized to supercharge your trading edge. Okay? So, from the first question I'll ask to you all is, how has this past week gone? How do you feel as these sessions have gone? That's the question. What do you feel about these sessions? And you could type it, someone can do push to talk. It's all good. So, first answer here from Willie: these sessions helped me a lot to learn the software. These sessions are great from Choi, being able to walk through examples. OG Smurf, excellent. Wealth Squad J, learning a lot and trusting myself more. 1-2 Share, you love the awesome tricks and tips. In the Twitch chat, Night Bros said very informative and helpful. Siwa said very helpful. Go back and watch them all. Amazing. They are great. Keep it up. Okay. Thank you. And not even just thank you for just the kind words. Thank you for your response. Because what we want to emphasize here at Teach.Trade within this server, within the overall trading community, as everyone is invited here, we just want to be very bent on being candid, being honest, and receiving feedback from you all so that we improve further. These trainings certainly were to invite the public community to learn more about our tool, as well as for our AutoStratic users to further familiarize themselves with the software and be able to utilize it even further. I saw Mike, one of our users, Shy Mike. He just recently, after yesterday's session with the pro session, he finally understood a bit better about the software, and he's now up 10% on his portfolio just right away, following the session and really being able to understand how to actually utilize some of those pro tools that we have. So being very candid, being very clear in our messaging is absolutely sort of one of our priorities. And just we want to know from you all just the ways in which we can do that better. And as we get better, what we can provide to you all in the trading community overall can be much improved and enhanced and better. All of these sessions, again, are recorded. They are all in the Teach.Trade server. And the first session, as well as the pro session, are public on our YouTube channel. So make sure to go check those out if you ever need to review some of our information. Okay. So if anyone has any questions for me, as I've asked the question to you, absolutely feel free to ask it, and we will sort of just go through it. If it's anything with charting, if it's anything related, So feel the need to ask. I will pull up my chart. And so we're going to go through some. What you were saying about outside candle radar yesterday was very useful today. Yes, absolutely. Either if you were looking at the radar on the weekly or on the daily, there were so many instances. One trade that we got in today was Snow on the daily that had an outside candle set up. It didn't fulfill the outside candle the whole way, right? But it was still useful for where we entered in our position for the trade, as well as what we were expecting for the stock to get to. So I had pretty short-term expiration on Snow. I had bought calls for next week that are a little out of the money, up to 165. Snow was a little bit of a slow mover and a slow grower, for us on the trade. But I still had full conviction to hold it despite some of these rocky steps in the road up. And that's because I had that conviction from time frame continuity being all the way green. That's the full green momentum we know of, as well as having it on the outside candle radar on the daily. And you see that Snow popped up right here. It was active up. So that gave me more confidence to hold my position all the way up. We didn't get all the way to the target, but we got enough for at least 50-60%. So that's pretty good. Let's cover one trade from today. To add AutoStratic, again, you just go to indicators, you go to invite only scripts, and you just click on AutoStratic auto-generated trade ideas. One thing that we saw in chat, sometimes you don't always know if what the settings should be or why some of the maybe the contracts aren't popping up, or if the trade levels aren't appearing. Always just make sure you have the settings on. The default settings are typically all good, but by default options trade signals is off. Okay, so if you don't see the options trade ideas, you must click it in your settings. Okay, so just make sure that's on. I have all the inputs on, like the display thing. So if you wanna play it safe, you just every box you see, just tick it on. Okay, tick every box if you want. But by default, the ones that are off are the accessibility, options trades, and expiration dates. Okay. Make sure you're on the stock that has a trade idea on it. If there is no trade idea, it says no setup detected. So on the firm at close yesterday, when we were reviewing the trade, a firm generated an entry for put after it had already gapped up and did quite a move because they had earnings. So the reason why it says triggered and targeted and everything is because we gapped up and moved past these levels. But it was not possible to get into this trade because it had earnings. And so, as we say, one limitation of AutoStratic is that it cannot consider news and economic events or earnings. Okay, it's just fully strictly based price action. Okay, and so after earnings was over, it did sort of generate a trade idea after hitting a previous high and then forming an actionable signal. And so based on such, generate a trade idea for puts. You took this entry for puts. I saw some people in our user base, some users in chat took this AutoStratic put and it banked for an entry from there and all the way to a gap fill down here. This was an amazing trade. I saw some people get in on Intel today. Intel's chart. We had a trade idea generated and then triggered. We triggered the entry, got up all the way to the previous targets. On the smaller time frame, when we crossed above, you could have maybe got a first entry when it first triggered. If you had decent expiration, you wouldn't have gotten really shaked out by this 2 red candles. We try to look at the bigger picture, and that's why these daily and weekly trade ideas are pretty good, because it helps encourage you to just stay patient and stick to the plan, but still set a stop loss if necessary. But make sure you're trying to look for expirations that are pretty reasonable and not too short. Okay, and if you do the short-term expiration, manage your risk, please. On Fridays, I'm going to give some advice that is unrelated to AutoStratic, but just understand I trade very lightly on Fridays. Okay. I don't risk a lot because I don't want to have a bad weekend thinking about what stupid thing I did on Friday. That's a little blunt, but it's very honest. You want to make sure you have a clear mind when you're trading and clear mentality. And that's part of, again, always part of our core values here. We're trying to help you clear your mind and not complicate things so much so that you don't go into, you're at the club Saturday night trying to dance the night away to some Ice Spice, and then you just remember that that trade you took on Friday and you ruin your day. Now you leave the club, go back sad. So, but welcome everyone. Welcome for those who are new. Anyone have any questions quite yet for me? I know someone wanted to see a demonstration on futures. Let's see if there are any trade ideas here for futures. Don't see any trade setups for SPY here. No trade setups. SPY kind of went crazy today though, didn't it? What's another futures? NQ, right? So a lot of just double outside candles, right? So exactly what we learned yesterday, right? On NQ, we just did this back to back, which is pretty crazy, isn't it? What I may do to see if I add, let me see what happens if I add NQ as a ticker to the outside candle radar. Hopefully this works. Yep, and it does. And so you see, if you customize your, okay, I'm sorry, but if you customize your outside bar radar, if you were to add futures manually, right? It's not automatically on there, but if you add there, you know, that will have populated there maybe both yesterday and today. That would have happened. Where there were two outside candles, and you know exactly how to trade them now if you watch the pro thing yesterday. So these tools all do work on futures. Right now, at least as far as I can tell, I can't find any trade idea just because the market just went really crazy. But okay, maybe somewhere down here on futures. Hold on. Let me just adjust the algorithm first. And so let me see if there is any trade idea back here. So we're just going to walk through and see what it generates. Okay. Go back in time, see what happens. Let's see something. So here, in this case, there's a trade idea that was generated on this day, on Friday, October 22nd, or 27th, so the end of October. So we were presented with a trade idea now, with two targets. So one at 14,459, and we triggered at about 14,400. So you could have taken the long entry and hitting the target, it'll let you take profit. It looks like eventually we ended up getting back to this target back here with no interruptions, actually. So from this entry around October 27th, that seemed to be the bottom of this dump. And it kind of gave you a trade idea right there in real time that, and there's no other trade idea. Okay, and now one more long entry. Okay, and then when it triggered that long entry, we had failed it. I mentioned yesterday or the day before that if we get a grayed out thing, even though we triggered the entry, that means it's failed, so it's no longer valid. But it's very interesting because just the day after, we ended up flying up anyways, right? So that is quite interesting here, at least testing this. I don't trade the Nasdaq really, and I think QQQ is what people use to sort of trade that sort of sector of stocks itself. But the only trade idea I found was that one on October 27th, and that kind of sniped the bottom there, and then it's only been up since then. But that worked out on futures, at least in that case, going back in time. So let me see what other questions. So yeah, let me just make sure. Okay, so Vernev, what we can do here, I just want to make sure do you have Discord? I want to make sure you have Discord. So that's how you would access either you go to the YouTube channel or you would access our Discord server, which is free. So for anyone here in the chat, by the way, you could use this Discord link to invite whoever you want to come in and hang out and investigate and discover more from us. So feel free to share it around. Don't be shy. But our recorded videos are in there, and then our YouTube channel is youtube.com/@teach.trade. But we are a free server. You can always just holla at us. We are very welcoming. So let me answer some. What makes you choose exactly which option to pick when you know which stock you want to trade? So one question so that question is definitely good, and also why AutoStratic is certainly something that emphasizes the ways in which I like to trade. Since if you didn't know, AutoStratic is made with variables of the strat while also trained on my winning trades. Okay, so typically if we look at the affirm trade here, right? So typically in this example on the firm, when it triggered an entry at $24, this suggested a $20 put, right? And in a way, AutoStratic is kind of using Kiakili's brain, because the contract, the strike price I pick, is typically based in whatever target level I'm looking for. So I get a question all the time after I alert trades in the Wealth Squad, hey, what's your price target? What I tell people typically is, as a rule of thumb, just assume the strike price that I picked is my target price. When I traded Snowflake today, I ended up buying right here, around right here. I bought the $165 call for 11.17, right? Right where the price was about at 158. So why did I buy that strike price? Well, because I think that we can get to a previous high, which is typically like resistance, right? 163 is right there. The previous high after that is about 166. So my goal when I'm trading is typically to get to these previous highs. Not even just these previous highs. There's many ways that I kind of come up with how far I think a stock can get to. Some of them being with drawing what's called a broadening formation. And also sort of just assessing based on my understanding of, my trading system. And so with these previous highs, you can just maybe use that to say, hey, these are resistance levels. When you buy out of the money contracts, I think of it as the price that you think the stock can get to in the given amount of time, where the strike price is that price, and the given amount of time you think you can get to is your expiration. So in this case, I'm a bit confident that snow can get to 165, or, around this 165 area between these two resistances by next week. Because I know snow moves about, on average, $8 in a day. If I buy this at 158 or 159, $8 more than 158 is, 166. And so it's pretty reasonable that this can get to up here in at least a couple of days. And it doesn't have to. It could, all we need it to do is really just move quite enough and give the impression that it can get to 165. So understand what I made by the distinction there. It doesn't have to get there, but it has to show promise that it could, and at least move a couple of dollars enough that I've made money. And from my entry, which was about 158 here, and it got to 161, so that's about $3. I already made 60% return on my call. That is more than enough money. Okay. But that's how I picked the strike prices. And AutoStratic is based on how I picked my winning trades. So understand a little bit more of that when you're thinking about the option strike prices that it may suggest, or the ones that you are looking to pick. Here, question Choi. So with the Radar Pro, I had mentioned either yesterday or a couple of days. So one trade-off we had to do with the Pro is to achieve the 200 tickers, we had to remove the ability to manually input each ticker on the radar. So for the default settings, those are the default tickers that are on the Radar Pro. However, we also included the regular radar in your Pro edition so that you still have that customizability. Okay. So, you're still able to edit the inputs. But that was the only way to achieve over 200 scans. So again, we want to take the Apple approach and mindset to how we provide our tools, just making it simple, making it fresh out the box, just a seamless experience, while also just adopting some level of Microsoft and Android approach where we emphasize customizability and, trying to make do on what you can for your own sort of custom template. I'm just looking through. Okay. Could you once again confirm when you enter a trade after you noted that you wait for a couple candle confirmation after a trigger? So what I want to emphasize right now, just to say again, is that, and let me bring up the radar here, is that, number one is that context matters. And the way that entries happen, there's not going to be the same way every single time. But the best we can do is give a frame of reference of what to utilize and what to look out for. Okay. So if we went to the Intel trade from today, right? One thing that happens here, since we're on the 5-minute time frame, I tend to like close above the a close above the entry on the 5-minute and preferably the 15-minute. But even then, when that happens, you could enter very confidently here. What we do and what I do when I enter, if it does cross above here, is that I at least get good expiration, at least 1 to 2 weeks out. I've been preferring 2 weeks out a lot lately. And because why make such a risk and take away your ability to be patient? Let's think about all of our senses as traders, right? We have that sense of patience. We have that sense of analytical sense for doing the technical analysis. And we have to think through how much money, where we're almost doing accounting as we're calculating how much of our money we want to put into a trade, right? So when we have all these senses, These senses that we have as traders are assets. They are assets for ourselves. So why would we take away our asset of time just so that we can make an extra dollar when we could make even more giving, more time to our trades and using it as an asset? So when if I enter on weeklies, and this is why lately I've kind of been preaching against 0 days. Not necessarily preaching against it, but it's just not for me. I recognize they make way more money when the trades are not 0 days. So if you enter here, right? Would these 2 red candles make you panic? That's kind of a bit of a question you have to ask yourself, right? And the answer to that question is then how you assess your risk profile and how you go about making entries. So if 2 of these candles like this makes you panic, then that means you're the type of trader that you need to wait for a retest. And maybe you have to do that every single time, even knowing that not every single time there will be a retest opportunity to buy something for a discount. Okay? But if these 2 don't scare you, and the way for it not to scare you is to buy extra time. So at times it is fine to buy on the stock at the thing it's entered. In some other cases, maybe the second time is when you enter. Okay. At the end of the day, AutoStratic is simply a reference, a very well-trained and smart reference that we're using for our trades, right? And I have my preference of how I use it and how I think is maximizing the ability. I have certain levels of confirmation, like the range rush reversal, as well as time frame continuity, to give me more confidence that's going to go there. So if this in this trade, like Intel, I might want to wait until all of these time frames here at the bottom are all green. You see how the hour is green, the 4 hour, the day, week, month, and quarter are green? That's giving me more confidence that this trade idea for calls to the upside is highly supported by other evidence. Does that all make sense? I think I'd probably finish my answer there. But it's, I think that's the best way of confirming your mindset and surrounding it around such that that just simplifies. It's because you are not overthinking your entry. I was just telling someone else in chat earlier today that I saw their chart, and it really made me think like, wow, my regular charts are way too busy. I love how simple it is like that, because let's keep it a bean. We want to keep it simple. We don't need, we need the drawings to support it. We need the flexibility to do what we can, but never overcomplicate your strategy. Okay. Well, likely what I'm going to maybe give as some homework for some people is to try to write down their strategy, not just about what tools they use, but what exactly are they looking for? Okay. And I could delve into that at a later point. Do you have to get pro to get this box? No, you do not. You have on the standard edition. So this is Tony K's question, asking if the radar is only available on pro. No. So if you go to indicators, go to invite only scripts, radar pro is right, or excuse me, the regular radar is right there. If you click that, you'll get a box that appears for you. But the difference is that Radar Pro has 200 tickers, over 200 and growing tickers being scanned in real time, while the regular Radar has 40, which is a lot, and which you, in ways, may not need everything. But some people, more advanced traders, want to see what a little more investigative work, just to see what the big thing is, and more options of what's being narrowed down. Can I explain time frame continuity? Essentially, every single time frame opens at a certain point, right? Let me take every single indicator off the chart, and we'll just show exactly what it is without even looking at that time frame continuity indicator. Number one, we'll do this really quick. Where did this candle open? Someone tell me maybe what price did this green candle open? Give a good estimation if you can see that. Around 38.25, right? This candle opened around there. And we can label this as the open of this price, right? So if the candle opens here, as long as this candle stays above, and this is on the daily time frame, as long as this daily candle stays above this yellow line, that means it's green, right? If this candle were to fall below this yellow line, that means it'd be red. Okay? This red candle was here. This wick on top of this red candle was at a point when Intel was green because it was above the price where it opened, right? So at one point, that time frame was green, but then it turned red. Time frame continuity is looking at every candle like that and seeing, is it above or below its open price? The more time frames that are above it and are green, so the more of those, the higher the momentum that is bullish, right? So in this case, why Intel is super bullish, there's many reasons, and we can use AutoStratic to understand why. On AutoStratic Pro, you get access to this time frame continuity indicator that's right down here, where it says DWMQ. You can see all of those are green. And that's full time frame continuity green. So that just means it's all the way bullish. It has everything. Another thing, the action box is telling us that this was a kicking bull. We learned why a kicking bull is Super Saiyan. I didn't have any other word to describe it. A kicking bull is Super Saiyan. It's you're charging up because it's super bullish. One of the highest, strongest reversal patterns you can find. And so we had a kicking bull. We had mixed that with full time frame continuity. And then AutoStratic is using that information to generate a trade idea for calls. And so that's giving you all the momentum to go up. On this day, what happened here? The day was red, but the week, month, and quarter were green on Intel. Time frame continuity is not fully green. There's a bit of some indecisiveness because there's something that's not consistent all the way. And so in some ways you're able to trade these things, but you know, if it's not all the way, there's some inconsistency. And would you want to be, I'm going to ask the question here, would you want to be trading against something that is majority bullish on the bigger time frames? When you don't have the full, let's say you took puts. Let's say you took puts on SPY today. Let me ask that. Would you, on a stock like this, where SPY is just straight going up, and there's barely any red candles, do you feel when you see all these green that it's ample time to take puts? If you're in the Wealth Squad with me, I took a short put this morning and got to 20%. But I should have known better that it was only going to be a small win, even though we had such a big day yesterday. But the moment that SPY got above its opening price, which is this yellow line where it opened, the moment SPY got above that, it was all the way up. And there was nothing that was going to stop it because all of the time frames were green and honestly just leave it at that. This is not really the ample time to take puts because you want to be trading with the trend, not against it. So what some people do is they wait. They just wait for the time frame continuity to go back into fullness. So some people, let's say in this candle, these candles with SPY, they may have waited for the bearishness, for the selling to stop. Then the moment that they see that we are back green on everything, that's the point to take calls. Okay? And the same thing for things that are to the downside. But while this is an analytical tool and it's very crucial to the strat, this is very something to absolutely learn for more confirmation of your trades. But do not overcomplicate it. Just know that ideally you may want to be trading in fullness. That doesn't mean you can't trade when it's not full, but you would be mindful that if there's conflicting time frame continuity, that may mean there's conflicting price action. Okay. So any other questions here? So I just want to, before we get any other questions, we could just walk through a few tickers that are showing setups on the week, possibly. Oh my goodness. Let me zoom out for a bit. It's taking over my charts. So let's take off some of these, even though I love all of these. So we have something like Fastly popping up, right? It's just an inside day. And Fastly is interesting. And I'm looking at cybersecurity stocks or cloud stocks. Like Crowd, D-Dog had good earnings, right? Look what happened here on D-Dog. We had an action box saying a pivot machine gun up on the week. The moment that it reversed, took out all of these highs because of this pivot machine gun. These back-to-back lower highs, people setting their stop losses, the shorts in particular who are setting their stop losses. The moment we reverse, we take out all of these stops, and that makes the stock price go even higher and higher, especially if earnings is on the way to make it happen. So some other tickers here that are on the weekly. Tesla, honestly, even though trading in an inside week, we had some pretty big moving days. And of course, an AutoStratic win that was triggered the other day. So yesterday, for the put side, we certainly came down and we filled this entirety of this gap. From understanding this on Tesla, because we filled this gap, it is very possible, especially since we bounced, that we might just start heading right back up and maybe towards these gaps up here around the 230, 200 levels. So this Tesla will be certainly interesting to watch. And granted, we have something on the weekly. That may be something we apply as well. PG, someone just mentioned this in chat. New Angeles just mentioned PG. So with PG, looking like we're quite bullish here. So what I would do, right, is when I see an AutoStratic trade idea, and just do some extra of my own charting. So I draw broadening formations. I connect a swing high, which is one high, connect it to the next high, and draw a line just like that. So then when I draw that line, that then gives me some information about how high can the stock go. If we do break an entry for calls and then start moving to the upside, especially again, since we have A full time frame continuity, as we can see, all of these are green at the bottom. This is looking like it has the momentum to keep going up. So PG certainly looks interesting on the week. Oh, excuse me, that's on the daily. But on the week, it has both a hammer and an inside candle. So this is a good example here. So we have a setup that is available, that's set up both on the daily and the weekly. So on the left side here, I have my daily chart on the left side for PG. And then I have the weekly chart. And let me adjust this back for options just to make sure. And so this is how I just plan my trade, right? Where this is looking like even more of a banger if there's both a trade idea on the daily and the weekly. Time frame continuity makes sense. It's all the way there for a bullish setup. It seems as though in this case, and this is not always the case, but I'm just telling you right now, but this is not always the case, but it seems like the entry level for calls is at the same point, right? So what I can do is one of two things. Either I add an alert on AutoStratic itself, click create, and let me just do this expiration for the alert just for next week. I don't really want to watch PG that often. So I'm setting this expiration for next week to expire. Click create. So now on Monday, if Procter & Gamble crosses above this entry level for calls, I will get an alert that it triggered. Okay. I'll get an alert that it triggered. And that will be that. If you didn't want to use AutoStratic for your alerts, you can just click the plus button and add an alert at the price level for when it crosses. But on Monday, because I didn't even chart this before until someone in chat said it, as well as I saw it on the AutoStratic radar that PG is there. Now this list is looking fire. So there you go. This is a free trade idea to everybody, for those who own AutoStratic and those who don't. I'm giving you some free sauce because this looks like it really definitely may want to get to this previous high, which would be a good move, as well as what I would assume to try to get to this blue line, which is the broadening formation. Makes sense, everyone? If there's no specific call for that option, it does its best rounding. You know, right now we're still trying to be as precise as possible. But at the end of the day, AutoStratic is still a reference tool. And, you know, sometimes the options information that it's seeking from the database of options is not fully, you know, sometimes it just tries to do its best. So just want to make sure that at least for the questions right now, especially since we have just a little bit of time left, since we are just about 45 minutes in already, just to any other questions pertaining to AutoStratic and using it itself. But just make sure if you are to ask questions, just to definitely use that. So we see Tesla here. I do see Tesla has a trade idea generated, you know, one on the weekly, none on the day, but maybe we can use information of the day to domino effect into the weekly sometime come next week. I'm just I guess I'm not sure what else from Tesla you may want to see other than what's displayed on the chart. Because all I see, if you wanted my professional opinion, is that we fill the gap down here, which could be a bounce point, and we would need time frame continuity to return back to the upside to try to trigger either calls if we're bullish, and then just make it happen there. Otherwise, if we remain bearish, we would still fall back down.
I had a question on the 15-minute for Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
So about 10:30 today, it had triggered a entry, and I had got in, but I guess I just kind of want to know like your thoughts, like what you see, just kind of see. I want to like what mistake I made because it came up with a trade idea for entry for puts, and but it kind of like faked me out, and it obviously ran up. And like I said, that was at like 10:30 when I got in.
Um, so I assume this was from the the range rush reversal, and not AutoStratic, because I don't believe AutoStratic itself triggered an entry to the downside. Um,
That
but
was the thing. That was the thing. It did. That's the reason why I had got in. And I was like kind of confused because literally maybe not too long after it disappeared.
okay. Um, so uh, I'm not sure if that's how that may have happened if that were the case. I guess I'm just thinking, just based on what I see on the chart itself, that at least the range rush reversal did trigger that, and maybe that the dashboard here, which is the range rush reversal dashboard, also may have reported entry, because that was around this time, right? Around the
Yeah, and the dashboard did say that. That's what I
yeah,
was looking at.
yeah. So it is separate from AutoStratic. But in this case, right? I'm trying to hopefully see if it updates and shows us. So yeah, so if we're going back in time, yeah, the dashboard itself for the range rush reversal, because it's this dashboard, it's telling us information as as an overview or potentially like a scanner for the tickers that are triggering the range rush reversal, right? And so at this point, Tesla broke the range rush reversal to the downside, right? And at this point, it gave an entry point, which was right here at 28.29. Let me put that let me see something. Where's the line? So the price line here, I think actually it's right here. So if we do this price note, around 208.29, that was when the entry was alerted here, at least on the dashboard. And so we were given a stop price of about 210.99, which is 210.99. So somewhere around here was the stop price. And so it did trigger an entry for those puts. Here it went down, and it seems as though part of where it bounced was that gap that I had noted back here, this gap in price from about November 1st to November 2nd. And we also did hit the take profit level, right? So the take profit level for number one was listed as 205.6, which is right here, where those dotted lines are on the chart. And so for this, Tesla was just a simple day trade that could have, at least depending on your expiration, would have returned about 10 to 20%. Or at least on 0 days, let's say if you got those, that'd be about a 20% move from a $3 drop or so from the orb. But it seems as though after we did hit that first orb, we came back up, back into the range, and eventually Tesla ended up stopping out that trade if you weren't able to get out. And remember, this is the stop price that was generated by at least that setup, right? And so by the dashboard. So at least so part of what can be, a bit helpful, definitely for next time, especially, is certainly just making sure you're being mindful of at least some of these levels that are on the chart that the range rush reversal itself is showing, as well as taking note of some of those, especially the take profit and stop prices that are being displayed from the dashboard. Okay.
So yeah, that was my fault. I missed that too because I guess on my chart, just those dotted lines kind of like I don't know, just kind of miss them sometimes.
Yeah. If you ever want to make them maybe appear a bit uh, clearer, you can certainly go to the settings and then change it to either increase the opacity of those target levels, at least according to the range rush reversal, or you can choose some type of you know color that's better suitable. I tend to at default have it very light, and I only do that just because my charts get very busy very quickly as well. But that can be very helpful just to make sure that you're able to see the targets.
In a future update, you think probably you probably could add in like where we could like write on the line too, because like just having like take profit like right there just kind of help because I like to write on my lines.
Okay. I can definitely take that as some feedback to see what we can do about adding some features. Um, how do you place the? So we have just a few minutes. How do you place the time frame signals green or red dots at the bottom of the charts? The time frame signals green or red dots. I'm not sure if I know what that is sort of referencing. I just want to make sure. Um, so yeah, AutoStratic doesn't generate the trade ideas until the market close. That is true. Let me see. I just want to see if there's any other thing that we could maybe cover. Okay, let me get out of replay mode. So let me see if there's any other weekly tickers that maybe I might be interested in and why. Just a bunch of inside candles, definitely. Verizon and T didn't really get a lot of move this week because they got a lot of move last week. You know what I might be interested in? I want to see what the semiconductors are. Semiconductors move a lot today, but there might be some that may be laggers. It didn't do too much. So, okay, so like the only semiconductor that did not have a weekly setup was STX. And so STX is a hammer and an inside candle. And it's kind of been consolidating since, while all of its cousins and brothers made big moves this week. And look at this. Look at that. Another free trade for the public. Another free trade for the public here. I don't even have the AutoStratic on. But there's a trade idea on the daily and a trade idea on the weekly. Sometimes where you see this again, where again the grayed out trigger that says that trade idea has been invalidated. Sometimes when you see a trade idea invalidated followed up by a new trade idea, that tends to be like the one most recent is taking priority. So we might even see this ticker STX Seagate. We might even see them attempt to make a bullish move come Monday, especially if they have this setup for something both on the day and both on the week. Some question may be asked about which trade idea may you take if there's one on the day, one on the week. I'm not sure if they are different. Let's see if they are. Yes, one is different. So again, it's all personal user determination. But what I like to think of is that the weekly time frames, the monthly, the bigger the time frame, the bigger the magnitude of how far the stock can go. Someone got a really huge trade on snow this week because the magnitude was so large about how far it can go. Because on the weekly time frame, if we see here, on the weekly time frame, snow had a trade idea and it got all the way far and almost got to this 163 level. It triggered one target, almost got all the way to its second target. So definitely try to look for those things that have bigger targets way further away, because it may just be that with the proper conditions, it can get there. And that's how you get those multiple hundreds of percent. Expected release of probability score. Right now, we're sort of trying to settle right now in just the base version. I don't want to give dates and, before everything is gathered around, but I am working on an update schedule. And I want to make that clear too. So this is maybe the time to answer a couple more questions and give some more announcements. So rather than, because I'm always working on AutoStratic all the time, I've been taking your feedback in real time for any sort of adjustments or suggestions you may have, and a lot of them are super awesome. I've been even thinking of potentially creating some type of dashboard similar to the range rush reversal, but fully for AutoStratic itself. And so as I'm working through these things, as well as fixing some areas that need to be fixed, I'm doing that in real time. And a lot of time I want to update things in like immediately. The thing about just updating randomly is that then requires you to manually go in and update it, or having to restart your TradingView. And so overall, I think it would be very useful to at least create an update schedule so that you know when to expect some changes coming, and so that it's not just randomly every day you need to replace the indicators on your chart. Um, and so we just want to make sure that we are in good communication with you all, and that it's just, on a regular update schedule, you know when to expect it and when you may need to refresh your indicators, and so that the updates are applied. But we have, loads of features. I want to say that big major changes are coming, not changes, but big major updates and additions are coming in December. And I'd say January as well. But we are readily working on these things. What I would say as well is bug testing is not easy. And right now, the current release of AutoStratic is very, very stable. There's probably this one extra thing that needs adjusting, and that was the issue that has been reported sometimes with trade ideas appearing at the very bottom of the chart. So here, right? Sometimes if your chart is squished, which I just did a tutorial of how to unsquish your chart when you put indicators on them. So make sure that you have scale price chart only on. Please make sure that is selected. But if your chart is squished, sometimes you see these random things at the bottom, which don't really mean anything. Just know that they're kind of irrelevant. However, I'll just release an update really soon just to make sure it just disappears. So it's just a really like the smallest type of glitch, but everything else on AutoStratic functions as intended. And we are here to assist you through sort of anything else you may want to see in the future of AutoStratic, because we want to make sure that you are heard and that this process is made better for you. So Tristan, come Monday for some of the trade ideas that have been generated, it's likely going to update by Monday or Tuesday, right? Because AutoStrack does not intend to alert weeklies at least 1 week out. So come Monday, this is likely going to change to probably like either end of November or December for whatever it's trying to find. we'll see. Either some trades are going to say 1 week out or 2 weeks out. Some trade ideas, especially when they're on the weekly, are going to update to probably like 1 month out, 2 months out. Okay, and one last sort of tip and trick is that any of the tools that you see on the chart, you can move them to any portion of the chart. It doesn't have to stay where it is. It can be bottom right, bottom left, bottom center. It could be anywhere on the chart. It can be any size. Okay. Okay, everyone's all right. Is there any way to set alerts on AutoStratic using a mobile device? Yes, absolutely. You just do the same thing on mobile. You'd, of course, you don't have right clicking on mobile, but what you would do is click on the alerts tab on mobile, then click plus, and then for the condition, you would click AutoStratic. You'd set to see if you want it to be sent as notifications to your app or notifications to your email or phone. And then after clicking OK, it's all Gucci. So let me do this on, let me set this alert on STX because we just found this trade I gave out for free. So now you have the power to go discover what other tickers you might want to look at going into next week. But it's simple on mobile. It's just the same thing. TradingView on mobile is just about almost the exact same thing as TradingView on desktop. They don't really remove any features. How to update? Do you want me to show it? So how to update very quickly. The main way is if you go to wap.com, you go to your orders. Okay, some lag. But you go to wap.com, you click on your orders, you click on teach.trade. So I don't have it here because I am the creator of this tool. And so you click on teach.trade and then you click on claim TradingView indicators. So once again, wap.com, your orders, teach.trade, claim indicators. It's so easy. Everybody can do it. Okay, but there isn't currently any update now, but I'm likely going to push one out this weekend just to get rid of that thing I just mentioned. But that's literally the only thing I need to change, at least right now, that's urgent. But we will have an update schedule and a release schedule so that everyone's on point. And so finally as well, so yeah, IB Robert Lee. So when there is an alert, it does say, so there may be one extra sort of quality of life change I can add. But at least for me, it does say what ticker and time frame that it's triggering for. For example, on the right here, it shows that AutoStratic, a trade generated idea on Oxy for the 1-day chart. So let's try this, maybe look a bit closer at it. But if you do want to add, I guess, a message box in there, maybe on mobile it's just not as efficient. But when you do this, if you add the alert name and just put it on the ticker itself, say, for example, here, you can say AS STX alert. So AS meaning AutoStratic, STX meaning the ticker, and then alert to just know what you're getting a notification for. All right. So everyone's feeling okay? I'm going to end it now just because we did go to our time. It is very crazy how fast time goes, isn't it? And again, I originally slotted for 45 minutes, but I wanted to make sure that most questions were answered. If you just I hope you do enjoy these sessions. I feel as though people do, and I'm very glad to engage you all and be able to talk almost like it's one-on-one with you. Just because I just want to make sure that you know that I'm a resource here for you. You please ask questions. Please give feedback. Please, because we just want to make sure that we have your attention and that you are helped. Do not sit quiet if you have something going on and everything. Like, we are literally here all the time for you at like sort of almost every point of the day. So with that said, this is the final one for these training sessions. And in the future, we will have some regularly scheduled content and live workshops in the server. And those will be consistent at least every week. Okay? And so those are certainly things to look forward to. Lots of mentorship opportunities, lots of learning opportunities. And this is all offered here to the public. And we welcome you to join. This is Kia Keeley. Thank you for being here. Have a great weekend, everyone.